If you are an empath, I want you to really listen up for this episode. Before we even dive into how we can communicate effectively and efficiently, I think it's really important to understand why we want to do this because we can't read anyone else's minds. And no one can read our minds either. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to a new episode of the Mini Mirror Show. On this podcast, we talk about emotional wellness, spirituality, and so much more. I'm your host, Amira Sookram, and I'm the author of the Guilt-Free Goals book and upcoming book coming maybe December 2024 called Feelings-Based Living. And on this podcast, I talk all about feelings-based living. So let's dive into it. You can't read anyone's mind, and no one can read your mind. Although when we have strong feelings and we're showing facial expressions that we're angry, that we're sad, we're assuming that somebody else looking at us can understand our emotion. And at the very basics, we can read the emotions for about 6 different emotions, which I talk about in another episode. But when you dive deeper, somebody could understand that you're sad, but they might not know exactly why you're sad. And they definitely don't know what your needs and desires are if you are not communicating that to them. If you haven't said, "Hey, I'm sad because I would really like a hug from you today," how is that person going to know to walk up to you and give you a hug? And even if they've done that in the past, like they've walked up to you and given you a hug because you're sad, it doesn't mean that they know to do that every single time you're sad. And it doesn't mean that they're going to continuously do that action if they don't have like praise or validation that that's what you like. And so we need to communicate that to other people. And why I said for empaths to listen up is because when you're an empath, and I have been called an empath. It's not a label that I take on personally because I don't need to be enmeshed with other people's emotions, and that's not my desire in life. But I definitely feel into what other people are feeling. So if I watch like boxing, I get really uncomfortable because I can almost like feel their pain. But I don't know that they're feeling the same thing that I'm feeling when I look at them. I'm putting myself in their shoes and looking at it through the lens of my own perception. So, when we think about looking at somebody else and feeling into their emotions, we have to understand that our own coping mechanisms, our own perceptions, our own view is going to be projected onto that person. And we don't necessarily want to project our feelings onto people when we're trying to empathize and understand how they're feeling. We need to step out of that lens of like, I know exactly how you feel. I know what you're thinking. I know, and instead step into the role of being curious about how are you feeling? What is going through your mind right now? What do you need right now? Start asking these open-ended questions so that you can communicate with other people and understand them better. And this is where empathy can bloom from. When we define ourselves as an empath and think that we can understand somebody's emotions perfectly, we are projecting onto them. There is this idea that we think other people can understand us perfectly just by the way we present ourselves in the world. Like you might say like, "Oh no, my partner should know this about me." But how do they know that if you've never said it? Or maybe you've gotten upset every single time that they take too long to wash the dishes. And so you think that they understand that they should wash the dishes earlier. But you've never explicitly told them or asked them or had a conversation with them about doing this. And so these silent expectations build up in your relationship until one day you explode and you communicate, maybe not so kindly to your partner, that, hey, if you don't clean the dishes today, like get the hell out. And at that point, like your partner may have this thought, like, I've never heard you say this before. Like, you've never communicated this to me. We can't assume that because we're emoting in a frustrated way, that the other person understands exactly why we're frustrated. We have to communicate that to them. And without communicating these things, we don't get to set boundaries. We don't get them to understand or empathize with how we feel. And we don't get to understand how they feel about what they need and desire from the situation as well. So, for this week, I want you to get in touch with some of your unmet expectations within a relationship. And I want you to sit with what you're feeling, why you're feeling that way, what your need and desire is, and then think about how you can begin communicating that need and desire. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go do this today, tomorrow, next week, this month. It just means that you're getting in touch with that side of you that is willing or going to become willing to stand up for what you need and want in life. And in the coming episodes, we'll talk more about communication, some tips that can help you, and how to communicate effectively and efficiently within partnerships. And by partnerships, I don't necessarily mean your romantic relationships. This could be somebody at work, this could be a peer, this could be like a friend. It just means any sort of one on one relationship. And the reason why we do this is because no one can read our minds and we can't read anyone else's minds either. And so we need to communicate to them how we're feeling and what our needs and desires are. But we want to do it in a way that is as kind and as loving as we can be, because that's what fosters connection and motivates people to be willing to act in accordance or to meet our expectations more willingly and more lovingly. Please like, share, subscribe. I am so grateful for you being here. If you watch my podcasts every week, please leave a comment telling me what you like about it, telling me, what the Mini Mirror Show has helped you with. And I just want to know who is here every week because I see some of you and I am very, very grateful for you. Thank you so much. See you next Tuesday. Bye.